You do realize, don't you, that I'm really not talking to you right now. The image you're watching was recorded and edited months ago, and depending on how well this series does, maybe even years ago. I am an illusion. When I recorded this, I was talking to a camera that had all the words I'm saying typed neatly on a screen in front of me. All my mistakes have been edited out to make me appear professional and good-looking. Good luck with that. This is counterfeit reality. This is giving you an impression that Bill has got it all together and has gotten it all on the first take. Not quite.
Action. I said action.
Yeah, in this session, Carl will give clear evidence that fossilization, fuzzination. I forgot what we actually wrote on that. I need to do that again. Yep, sorry.
Are you ready, Bill?
Yes.
What are you going to say exactly this time?
Who knows? Can't wait to hear what I'm going to say. In Hollywood and in the media, manipulation is the game. In this following session, I will show you how properly to discern and then question the images that we see every day. What is a worldview? It's your view of the world. Everybody go, duh, Bill. Bill, that's what it is. It's your view of the world. Now, there are certain basic questions that any good worldview will answer. And one of those questions deals with the question of origins. Everybody in here has a worldview. Your worldview is much like a set of glasses. It is your framework for understanding existence. That is your worldview. Everybody in here has one. And when it comes to the question of origins, that's a foundational, fundamental question that needs to be answered. How you answer this question will determine how you make your money, how you spend your money, how you view your parents, how they view you, how you view those who are about to enter this life, and those who are about to leave this life. So, we need to have corrected vision. Not just to read the newspaper, but to read the world around us. Speaking of the newspaper, not too long ago, I read an article in the Denver Post dealing with something that is on the cutting edge in the business world. Very soon, they will be able to take you, put you in a place you've never been, doing things you've never done in a full-length feature film, and you won't be able to tell that it's not you. It's counterfeit reality. And there is a $1 billion a year business that has been developed to detect counterfeit reality. And it got me thinking that we have been immersed in a counterfeit reality as well. For example, in the last round of presidential elections, there were instances of counterfeit reality. How many of you saw this picture on the internet? It was widely circulated on the internet. Okay, let me see your hands. Okay. This is whom? John Kerry, candidate for president at the time, Democratic candidate, and Jane Fonda. But this picture was taken in the 1970s. Okay? In fact, it says, Fonda speaks to Vietnam veterans at anti-war rally. Now, during this particular time period, Jane Fonda was known to be an anti-war activist. So to couple her with John Kerry would then, what? Besmirch his character as well. People who were alive at the time that there were anti-war protests can testify to the fact that John Kerry and Jane Fonda never appeared on the same podium at the same time. They never spoke together. This is an altered photograph. It's a counterfeit reality. We are immersed in a counterfeit reality. We have a culture that is filled with myth information. We need to be prepared to dispel that myth. Now, what does it tell us? What does it tell us in Colossians 2:8? Colossians 2:8 tells us, see to it that no one takes you what? Captive through philosophy or empty deception, according to the tradition of men, according to the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Christ. Do not get captured. And yet, we are immersed in a counterfeit reality all around us. And it's promoted various ways. It's promoted mainly through the media. I have a friend who gave me an article that I refer to often. It's an Associated Press article out of Tacoma, Washington. The article reported that a little boy, 12-year-old boy, had been kept in a coffin-sized box for 2 years because his step-grandmother feared he was brain damaged. Horrible story. Obviously a story of child abuse. The box was 6 feet by 2 feet by 3 feet. Now, once he was freed, psychologists who interviewed him reported that the little boy was overwhelmed when he came to the realization that not all little boys are kept in boxes. That he never tried to escape because, quote, he didn't know any different kind of life. Horrible story. What made it fascinating to me was they went on to report that the little boy was allowed out of the box regularly on 2 occasions. One was to go to the bathroom. The other was to attend church. Imagine yourself seated next to that little boy in church come Sunday morning and having him turn to you and say, "Excuse me, what color is your box? Is your box warm or cool?" Whoa! Baby, I'd be up out of that pew, down the aisle, out the door, changing membership right then, right there. You know what I mean? That would be very disconcerting. But I put to you that is a clear picture of what's happening in the Christian community. Turn to the person seated next to you. Just look at him. Look at him. I know it's kind of scary in some cases, but just look at him. Just look at the person seated next to you. Do you see it? You see it? You can't see it, but it's there. It's a little coffin-shaped box called secularism. Secularism is the belief that there may or may not be a God, but even if there is a God, he's irrelevant in history, art, science, literature, music, philosophy. You're free once a week to climb out of your box and go do good deeds, like paint the widow's house, or go to church, or attend a conference. But don't you dare bring your faith to bear in the culture around you. How often have we heard that? You see, secularism is not neutral. Secularism is a belief system that is hostile. And at the core of secularism is the question of origins. The question of origins is a key question. And this whole issue of worldview, you hold to either a biblical worldview or you hold to a secular worldview. Secularism is not neutral, it is hostile to biblical Christianity. And when it comes to creation versus evolution, secularism clings to an evolutionary construct, and it promotes it throughout the culture. And you must understand that when it comes to secularism, nobody is better at conveying that to the culture than films. It affects our fantasy. It affects how we view the world. Because we think of Star Wars as entertainment, but no, it taught a generation to think from an Eastern mindset. Now, it's a dark film, and it's kind of scary, okay? But you need to be culturally relevant, so you need to see how this is conveyed to the culture, okay? So let's see this.
Luke, help me take this mask off.
Hey, it's my fantasy, okay? You need to realize with whom you're dealing here, okay? Who's your daddy? You know, Star Wars was a highly successful film series, but it taught a generation to think from an Eastern mindset. When it first came out, I had many Christians say, wow, that's great, because we came out of a very dark period of film called film noir, and it was refreshing to see a hero, someone who had virtue. And so they said, look, the Force in Star Wars is like the God in the Bible. In fact, I still have people tell me this after seeing the latest Star Wars release. Well, let's analyze that. What's the problem with saying that? What's wrong with saying that the Force is like the God of the Bible? Well, let me ask this. Is the Force personal or impersonal? What about the God of the Bible? Well, is the Force, what is the Force? What is the Force? It comes from all living things, okay? So if you destroy nature, if you destroy the universe, what do you destroy? The Force. If you destroy nature or the universe, do you destroy the God of the Bible? No, because the God of the Bible is transcendent. He is outside of his creation, okay? But the Force has both the good side and the dark side. What about the God of the Bible? In him there is no evil. You see how you cannot mix these two together, and yet I find over and over and over people will take and they will Christianize certain films because they like them. Now, am I saying don't see this film? Am I saying that? Everybody look at me. Everybody look at me. Am I saying don't see that film? Everybody look at me and say, no. Do that with me, please. No. Some of you are directionally challenged this afternoon. Some of you are going. Some of you are going like this. Some of you are going, Bill, I am mature. I will not do that. Yes, you will, because if you don't do that, you'll come up and stand next to Bill and do it, because if Bill looks silly, everybody looks silly. And everybody goes, no. Some of you in the back are going, I can't do that. There is no compromise on this. There is no middle ground on this. We are immersed in a counterfeit reality. And it's conveyed mainly through films. And it flows from an evolutionary construct, because what you can see is that we can evolve into higher states of being.